Hey, welcome my galactic brothers and sisters. I appreciate you showing up, and everyone else out there in the neighborhood. I appreciate each and every one of you each week showing up or each day showing up and watching these videos about the esoteric life. And esoteric is secret society stuff that I've had privy to, and then I'm just sharing in a common way. There's a lot of intricacies to all this stuff, and the easiest way to share it or show it to you is through some of these arcane tools. Arcane just means old. And arcane has arc in it. We've talked about the arc extensively, from arcs and ions and the hierarchy. And if you're new to this channel and not sure what I'm talking about, then go back and watch a bunch of the videos. And I'll try. If not, I'll try to explain some of it here. But I've already explained it enough. So basically, arcane or arc is just when the energy comes from the unformed, where it starts forming into what we'll call ions or particles, and these particles are floating in what we call just a unconscious field. Although they are charged, they're not yet in order. So in the Shambhala realm is when these particles sort of get in line, much like kids in a lunch line, and the teacher say, okay, everyone line up. And so what that's doing is preparing those ions to get ready to be arc. And that next stage after Shambhala is hierarchy. Right? And this is where we end up in mythology and tarot and everything else, is the hierarchy or the archetypes or type of arcs. And so your thoughts are the type of arcs. And so how you think a thought arcs these ions that are standing in line, ready to be charged and or organized. And so the more organized you get your thoughts, actions, and emotions, and take responsibility for those, the more you're able then to put in order what you want to have come in order here in Earth realm. Making sense, guys? And one of these tools that we're going to use is the tarot. Now, I'm teaching tarot, and we've taught the basic fundamental stuff for the last few months in the last few videos. And basically, hopefully by now you understand that these are just ones and zeros. These are just your mind's random thoughts. Now, because there's a lot of you watching, this will be a general reading. But what I also do for clients is just to show them that this is a toy or point of focus to help my client focus on what it is, or concentrate on what it is, because we need deep focusing and I need to have deep listening. So if we're in a state of deepness, then we're able to take in information, cosmic information, from the deeper realms, right? And also superficial realms. But we definitely want to have the ability to tap into all the realms. Again, the smaller ships, medium ship, and the larger ships. Or the small planets, medium-sized planets, and the larger sized planets. But it also deals with the civilizations on this planet and what their technology is, and do they have small antennas, medium antennas, or big antennas. And just as you in your mind is an antenna. Right? If you've taken responsibility for your thoughts, actions, and emotions, and gone within the esoteric and dealt with your emotions, or the ones you're holding on to, or you're not letting go of, or old thoughts. Because what these represent are just how you've ordered your thoughts. And part of tarot, and the way I do it in the esoteric tarot, is not the traditional way. I may do some spreads here where we just lay the cards out. But what I'm doing is I'm looking at it from an electrical perspective. I'm looking at it from a chemical perspective, and then a mechanical, but also health, wealth, and love. Everything in the universe can be summed up in health, wealth, or love. All the questions that people come to me over the decades has been about health, wealth, or love. I can throw anything that you want from present state to get to in your desired state. I can pretty much categorize under health, wealth, and love. Now, why do I do that? Not to simplify, but it's to triangulate. Right? And if you want the best signals, you have to have a triangulation, which in this case, as you've been watching my videos, is about the triunes or trinities. And for me, the Holy Trinity or have a whole signal be able to transmit and receive on in all the different realms and dimensions. Again, dimensions are dimensions, ions. Di meaning two, men, the species of humanoids, and then ions is the energy for the men to communicate back and forth. Dimensions, ions. Right? The higher realms, the highest realm that we can tap into right now, or that we're given a name to, is mansions, man's ions. Right? We see this throughout mythologies about these grand houses or grand palaces, right? In my mansion, I have many rooms, and these rooms there's treasures and all this type of stuff. But what we're going to be able to do is this aligns us with how your antennas or your arrays are configured. So we're going to figure out, or with figuring, right, how you have arranged your thoughts. And this will give us an idea of how you've arranged your thoughts. Now today I'm going to give a divine message, a quick message, just an overall message from the divines. I'm going to show you in the cards how it aligns up. Now I don't need the cards. I can put the cards away, and I can give you a divine message. What they're telling me right now is that yes, things are beginning to move. You're putting an end to an old relationship. Yes, this sounds generic, and I'm putting it in generic because it is for the audience here. But what I'm really focusing on is you're not getting rid of the relationship, you're getting rid of your thoughts about the relationship. You're getting rid of how you felt about this relationship. Right? You finally looked at it, you went into the hermit stage, and you've been able to reflect. And then you were able, and the counterpoint to that is the judgment card, which we'll get into all these cards later. And in the tarot class, I'm going to go one by one of these cards and give you the galactic meaning behind these, or the archetypes behind them. Right? The type of arcs that we need to understand so we can arc these ions that are waiting in Shambhala to be formed, which then when you're ready, you attract them here to Earth through the portals of 9, 6, and 3s. Right? We've talked about this in videos. If you're not sure, go back and look at the 3, 6, and 9s, and we're still talking about those on Thursdays as well, Thursday days. So anywho, the divine message, then basically what I'm getting from them is that there's still a lot of turmoil. There's still a lot of old energy given their last push to control the minds of Earth. And part of taking responsibility for your thoughts, actions, and emotions is you taking charge of your own thoughts. Instead of saying, oh, that person is controlling me, or that person is, or the media is controlling me. The media only controls you if you watch the media. If you turn the media off, it doesn't control you. Well, there's airwaves. Yes, there is, but you can feel, when you're in touch with your feelings, you can feel when something that is not you is trying to impress upon you, and it's up to you what you want to do with that thought that's impressing itself upon you. But again, it's just pressing ions on you, right? I want to impress these ions on you, right? You get my point? It's an impression. If you're still trying to impress people in life, then you haven't taken responsibility for your thoughts, actions, and emotions. And so what we do have 8 planets still in retrograde. What does that mean? It means people from our past will revisit. It's like a merry-go-round. If you stand still, that person's coming back around again. And again, it's not so, it can physically happen. That person from the past that you broke up with or divorced or whatever is coming back around physically. And it's going to be up to you then to say, you know what, that was a toxic relationship. I'm not sure I want this anymore. I appreciate you, love you. I hope you have a happy life, but I'm going on my own direction now. Right, that makes sense? Or it's not so much that the person may show up, but it's your thoughts about that person that may resurface. And you recycle those same old, oh, well, I wasn't good enough. What did I do wrong? Or, oh my God, that person was toxic, and you call them all sorts of names. But in reality, what you're doing is just calling yourself. So this is the work I'm talking about that the divines are having us do right now. Is sit there and go, okay, why is it that I'm still looking at things from these old perspectives? So take these old perspectives and see if we can't put a new twist. The hangman. The hangman sees, it's the card that's opposite of every other card. It hangs upside down because it wants to see life from a new perspective, a different perspective. It's ready to make that. Because the next card after the hangman in the major arcana is that the death card. The death card means putting it into something, and at the same time you begin something new. Right? Because we've done the work of dealing with whatever the emotional baggage was around it. Right? Now again, this is on the physical, mental, spiritual or the health, wealth, love realms. But electrically, what's happening is that there are new upgrades to our frequencies for which you and I communicate. The spectrum, the red through violet spectrum, red, orange, yellow, green, blue, indigo, and violet. Right? We're being added different colors, if you will. And you're like, well, what does that mean? Well, imagine when I was a kid, we had 7 colors in Crayola box. Right? And then as I got older and older and older, next thing there's a 64 Crayola box. There's 64. A lot of those colors had never been invented. They were never around. Our eyes never saw those colors. Why? Because they weren't here. But then we were able to mix new vibrations or colors together and then create new ones. Well, what we're doing right now is there's a macro change for new colors on the spectrum. And this is what they're trying to get us to see, is open up to these new spectrums. But if you're still bogged down by old thoughts about old people and still blaming and fault, then you're not going to open up to these new spectrums. Does that make sense? And so by throwing these cards out, it just shows us what kind of an array our thoughts are in, and then do we want to change the order. All right? So basically what I'm going to be doing, we can do different spreads, and we'll have different decks. But again, these are just paper and ink, right? But what you're doing is, as you mix these cards up, it's random. It's like life. You're mixing your thoughts up all day long, and then you get randomness. But it's not really random, is it? Because you're the one who put those thoughts in order. You just weren't conscious of it because you weren't willing to take responsibility for those thoughts. So this is a really great time to break old patterns because the energy is about to open up, especially around October 3rd. Mercury goes out of retrograde. But we do get in the shadow of Mars coming in around October 30th. And that's more heavy, intense energy. Right? Mars is heavy, intense energy. So let's throw out a basic spread that I do. And we'll do a bunch of them. But again, it just depends on what we're asking. And so before we throw this out, we're just going to focus in on what it is. Do we want messages from the divines? Or the hierarchies, or the cosmic neighbors? What's going on in their worlds, right? And for what reason do you need to know their information? So what we want is just come up with whatever ions it is you want to quest. Again, question. Quest ions. Do you want? How do you want these ions to form? And in this matrix we're in, these ones and zeros will align up and give us a clearer message or validate what it is we already know. So what I'm going to do right now is just basically, and again, the screens are opposite. Now, I will read reverse because we've talked about the verse, the adverse, the inverse, the multiverse, the omniverses. There's all these verses. Verses are just frequencies. Each planet has their own verse or frequency that they send out to other planets or other ships, right? They're on there. The military has their frequencies, right? It's the white noise you hear in between different channels, WLOS or whatever, WNCBC or whatever. They have their own antennas that have their own specific frequency. This isn't magic, people. It's science. So we can tap into, by focusing, deep focusing, our minds, our bodies, electromagnetism, and then hone in on different frequencies, and we can hear what's going on the radio. Now, we tap into other planets' propaganda, their news. Who's in charge of their news? Who wants something said or who wants to squash what something's saying? Right now in Earth, we're going through a time of, what's the word? We're going through a big time of censorship because the old power, the old power that's been in power for a few thousand years are losing ground and they know it. The old blue bloods are dying out. Or being arrested, or being fired, or stepping down. There's going to be a lot more, right? Because the old guard is holding on tightly, right? And I'm not saying that this old guard is good or bad. They just did things their way, but that way is not happening anymore. Again, old thoughts. We're getting rid of old thoughts and opening up to new ones. So if you want to open up to these new frequencies, or frequencies that have been closed down for a while, are now retransmitting because of these other worlds we're dominating. Now that they're not dominating, we can now bring up our antennas without fear of being attacked, if you will. And this is the galactic neighborhood thing, guys. I won't go into it right now. So my point to that is that we can do verse or reverse, or inverse if it's sideways. Right? 'Cause, everything is transmitting positive or negative, and positive and negative is not good or bad. Right? It's just telling me that the signal is being sent or it's not. It's paused. It's transmitting or receiving. So if a card's upright, it's transmitting. If it's reversed, right, I'm receiving. I need to open up and listen to what that card's saying. So that's them sending me that message. That makes sense? Because my head's always somewhere sometimes too. I got a lot of million things going up on my head, not only on Earth stuff, but galactic stuff. And conversations, 100 conversations going at once. So for right now, we'll just do everything as the cards come out. But how I'm laying it out for y'all, and to make it simple, is that, again, this hand is my left hand, but I know the camera's reversed stuff. So what I'm doing is laying out the left side, and we'll call this side the spiritual side. This is the spiritual side. Now this is spiritual future, spiritual present, and spiritual past. Right? And then I'm just going to continue out. So as you see, the top cards are all future. And all the middle cards is the present moment. And all the cards down here are past. Now this is spiritual over here. This is mental. Right? This is all your mental. Right? Spiritual, mental, and this is physical. And if we want, we can throw out a card on top just to give us an idea. And there's no right or wrong to doing spreads, guys. Spreads for me is a spiritual read. And so we can throw a card out before, after. You got to set whatever it is, the pattern, the matrix you want. And for whatever reason you want it. And what it means to you. Right? There's literally thousands of spreads. I got at least 50 I teach people. From ancestors to your autonomic nervous system, you name it. But anyway, the card that I threw out on top, it's victory. Right? It's victory, which is 7 of Wands. Wands is about creation, creativity. Right? It's about movement. Right? So we've been through something tough in the last few months, as I've said in a couple of my other videos. We've been going through some tough stuff. And now that's clearing. And we got victory over that old relationship. We got victory over that old boss. We got victory over our own health. We got victory over our emotions. Right? So celebrate that victory. That's the overall what hangs over us right now. Right? Now over here on the left side, we have the Three of Pentacles. Right? You see that okay? So the Three of Pentacles is still forging. Right? And again, this is in my spiritual future. There's more to forge, which for me, in the victory, is that I closed down a whole bunch of businesses I owned for 14 years. Right? I basically got tired of them. And if I wasn't passionate, then the energy's no longer there. Right? And so in the future right now, as I'm speaking in the present moment, is that I'm opening up energy for the new energy to come in to manifest into new businesses. I'm always creating businesses. So this one is, I'm in the spiritual realms, in the this Shambhala realms. I'm putting in thoughts right now. I'm organizing ions to come forth when I'm ready to have them manifest in this realm. And that's what Friday's classes are, is manifesting. And so I'm forging spiritually, if you will, right now in my head of what I want the next thing to look like. I'm not sure exactly how I want it. Right? Sometimes I like a little surprise, or I'm just, because of all the planets in retrograde, I can force ideas, but it's just going to be scrambled or confusing right now. That's what Mercury is. In retrograde, it really messes with the brain waves, right? And one day you're great, the next you're not sleeping well. There's a lot of things that go along with this. I'm sure y'all can go watch an astrologist. They'll give you more details on this stuff. I did this astrology and all when I was 13 to about 18, understood it how I needed to understand it then. And every now and then I combine them with tarot, but the tarot itself for me is just from the Torah, which is just the ancient text, which is just ancient energy, which is ancient patterns. Make sense? And it shows us how the universe is made up. So anyway, so below that in the present spirituality, I'm Knight of Cups. This is always a great card. It's moving forward. I'll see that okay. It's a Knight of Cups. It's moving forward, which means I'm open to receive in this present moment. Right? In the spiritual realm, I'm ready to start receiving some of this that I'm still forging. I want to preview to the movie. I don't need the whole movie because I'm still working on my inner stuff, and I want to make sure I'm solid before I move into the next phase. I want to make sure I've cleared everything from the old stuff and then be ready and fresh for the new stuff. Make sense? And there's no complaints, guys. I have no complaints about any of the old stuff, right? It was great. It was awesome. And then when my energy wasn't there, I couldn't pass my ions anymore because I didn't have them in me to give, right? I was tired, right? And so after your candle only has so long for it to burn in one given space, and then that candle finally came, and then you have to accept that. And I'm like, yeah, I'd like to keep it open. It's a great thing for our community. It's for millions of people, but I just don't want to do it anymore. But hopefully y'all can carry it on. And so the past, and that's what this card here, and it was in reverse. This is a strength card. This card normally means that my emotions have control over my physical lion. Lion is just ions, right? My feminine side of me, or my emotion, my heart, right? My heart wasn't in it anymore, and that's why it's in the past right now, because my heart's not in it. And so that's why I had to make the decision, and I decided on those old ions that I didn't want those old ions anymore. Decide ions, right? Decision. So I wanted something new. So yes, it's a transition. We transition those ions. We're transiting old ions, putting them back through that, cleansing them. If you watched my video yesterday or Saturday, is that we take them through that. That is a car wash. It cleanses all the dirt off our cells and then sends them back through, and now we can re-transform them. Make sense? So now in the physical future, or in the mental future, right? We have Ace of Pentacles. Ace of Pentacles is that they're in the mind now. This is spiritual, mental, physical, and this is all future up top, present moment, middle, and past. And so in the future mental, I got new thoughts coming in, guys, and I got tons of new thoughts coming in. I got tons of new ideas coming in. Right? Can I get to them all? No. Do I have time in the day? No. At this point, I'm still trying to rest. Right? I'm still trying to rest and make sure that my emotions, or the energy and motion that I'm putting out, it doesn't have any low vibrations to them. So I'm doing my work and making sure I'm meditating hours a day. Right? I made it happen, and you can make it happen. You may not think you're making it happen. Right? You may cause an injury to yourself, but you're down for a few weeks, right? Or a few days, or give yourself a cold, right? This is your body's way of saying, dude, right? Step back, chill, meditate. You got all these hours to meditate now. Work on yourself. And this is what this mental is working. So in the future, this is telling me and all of you that you have been doing your work, and you have probably gotten sick, which I don't subscribe to sickness, guys. You're going to understand that. I don't subscribe to sickness. But it is your body's way of purging or communicating with you. And if you're not listening, it's going to shut down the electricity in it until it knocks you on your butt. Right? There's nothing sick about it. It's actually pretty damn smart. Right? Again, we've got to start something new. So we're starting, this tells me that you and I are starting new thoughts. We're opening up to a new beginning finally. And then the card here in the middle, in the middle of all this, is a Hierophant, or the preacher, or the priest, or the guru, or the warrior, whatever you want to call this card. It basically means tradition, which is trading in ions. Trade ions. It's told me that in this present moment, I've traded old ions for new ions, old beliefs for new beliefs, meaning I'm getting out of ego and opening the heart. You see what I'm saying now? By opening the heart and dropping the ego, you allow yourself to take in new ideas. Right? You're ready to forge in the background something new that's going to come about, and it's going to come quicker than you think it is. Right? And then so at the past, we dealt with the King of Cups. We loved what we did in the past, right? And mentally, it was satisfying. But no longer is it that, because now this deck starts over, right? This is the end of the minor deck, the minor arcane, right? Now you're ready for something real world, right? This is a minor card, right? If I get the Emperor in the major, then I know it's time. I'm going to do my life's work. I've been doing my life's work and we'll call it half-assed, and that's not a good or bad thing. We just didn't know what we didn't know, and now we're taking in new energy. We're forging new ideas, opening up to new things, and now we're really going to throw in. Well, now we're really going to amp up why we're even here. All right, you're going to do your life's mission. You've been missing. Mission is missing ions, and I'm just a missionary here to show you how the universe is talking to you all the time. Now, physically, what does this mean? Right now, this card's upside down. It's normally this way. You see that guy carrying a heavy load? That's what you've been doing, right? In the future, if this was in the future, you're still carrying around your heavy load, but because it's empty, right, gravity will take those things from him. He won't have to carry them out. And this is spirit. This is energy. Will take that from you. Right? It's going to take whatever you had, and you volunteer it, or it will take it from you forcefully, because it's really you telling yourself, dude, wake up, go on, your life is ready to do more, let go of that old person, let go of that old place, let go of all those old things. This card is a death card, which means it's an ending. In your physical life, you have physically ended something, and there's new beginning. The flip side of this card is birth, death, birth. That makes sense? So, things that you liked or things that you loved are gone. Now, they're not eternally gone. They're still in the electrical realm, right? But in the physical things, I mean, you lost your job. You lost your mate, right? That you thought you were going to be married together. Well, they're not here anymore. So that's ending. So it means starting new beginning, right? And then finally, we have the moon card. Now, this moon card was upside down, which means this is about your fear and hopes. Now, because it was upside down, in the past you were focused on your fears. But because it's opposite, right, and it's in the past, we know that we can turn that card around. I can turn that card. I can turn that card. I can turn my life around. I can turn my fears into hopes. And hope for me is just opening up to the realms of possibility, the halls of possibility of everything. Right? You're starting afresh. That's what this death card was about. Right? That's what this death card is about ending old stuff. So overall, your lives are beginning to change, and it will change with what you may think is without your cooperation, but it is your cooperation. It's your cooperation. You're operating on these ions. You're physically behind the scene. Your spirit is changing this stuff around. Your God self is changing this around. You're the creator. You create your life, right? But we're a co-creator. We co-create. Just like the water is my co-creator when I make soup. Just like the sand is when I build cement. Right? They're my co-creators. The universe and all the ions and atoms and leptons and muons and all that good stuff, they're my co-creators. And it's all part of the same recipe. So hopefully this is giving you some idea of what we'll get into. And again, this was just to give the divine reading, but we'll get more into this tomorrow and show you what I'm doing with each and every card of the major arcana. We're going to start going over the major arcana. We've gotten your homework. If you haven't done the homework, go watch the videos. I'll try to put a link in here. Sometimes I forget. If not, I'll put a link in the description below. And hopefully this is giving you some idea of the message, which is you've done your work, it's been hard, you're getting rid of stuff, and now you're opening up. The future's showing us that we're opening up and we're getting rid of what we no longer need. We don't have to carry around the burdens of old thoughts anymore. It's not the things you're carrying around, guys, it's your thoughts about the things. And who's in control of your thoughts? Who's going to take responsibility for your thoughts, actions, and emotions? You are. All right, guys? Love each and every one of you, and I look forward to seeing you tomorrow.